Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle. Today we have with us Lyndsay Phillips, who is the founder of Smooth Sailing Online Support. Welcome to the program, Lyndsay.
Thanks so much.
So I love looking at or learning about how people choose names for their service or product. And Smooth Sailing just gives such a nice, calming effect, which obviously that's what you are going for when you're talking about helping executives out of, issues or business owners out of, their day-to-day. So tell us a little bit about how you came up with that name and what led you to this industry.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's funny because a lot of people ask me if I have a sailboat and if I love sailing. I don't, unfortunately. I do love the water. I can't remember how the name came to me, but I do kind of like you intimated where, people want everything to run smoothly, right? They want their business to run smoothly and their, launches or, their website, everything. So somehow Smooth Sailing came to my mind. And yeah, the theme has been really fun to work with.
Well, and it just really does give you the connotation of, navigating through the choppy waters of entrepreneurship and things like that. So I think that was a great choice. So what's your background and what led you to you starting your company?
Yeah, so I've had my own business before. It feels like a lifetime ago when I lived out west, exporting vehicles to the States and what have you. Again, a whole other lifetime ago. And then I kind of got out of that and got married and had kids. And I wanted to get back to having my own business and having a different lifestyle where I can work from home, be closer to my children and, see them more often versus, working from 8 till 6 kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And I knew a couple people that were working from home and kind of asked a lot of questions and what they did and, if they needed help. And I knew what my strengths and, my weaknesses were. So knew I could, easily dive into that. So I worked part-time with a publishing company, and then I started to work part-time for them as well, so behind the scenes, in one shopping cart or, behind the scenes of a website, and just started to really learn a lot more about online marketing in general and kind of what goes on behind the scenes, when you opt in for something, let's say. And I loved it, and I wanted to pursue it, so I just kept learning. I started to work for Jim Palmer, which is the newsletter guru, and, got more and more. And it came to a crux where, I can't do my part-time job and do the stuff on the side at the same time, so something had to give. So I bit the bullet and quit my part-time job, and I took a couple of online courses and met people and networked and got new clients, and it just grew from there.
That's an interesting way that you've introduced that, which is you started noticing things in your own business that you needed, and then you started doing something about it, and then that turned into, well, hey, if I had this need or problem or issue, maybe other entrepreneurs do as well. So then you started your service, and then you said something else interesting, which is you got out there and networked. And I think a lot of people think that word is net, here's my business card, give me some business, not net work, because it actually takes work. It takes time. You can't just hang your shingle, so to speak, and put up your website, and if you build it, they will come. It just doesn't happen that way.
No.
You have to build those relationships and, reconnect with people or stay in front and center with them. So any thoughts or tips that way in how you kind of, made that a focus and a priority and actually stuck with it to make it succeed?
And that's a good point on the whole networking thing. Even the word is scary to some people, right? And I'm not naturally one to just like walk up to anybody and, start talking about myself kind of a thing. And I think if you look at it in a way that if you show interest in other people and you want to get to know them and what they do and just build relationships, I think if you think of it that way versus I need to talk to these people because I want their business, I think that's going to come across. And I kind of did that networking before I even really made the leap to just do my business by myself. And it was just being interested in the entrepreneurial world and what other people are doing and what kind of businesses they are and what their struggles were and just making those connections and being interested in other people. And the rest just kind of happens naturally, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's really hard for an entrepreneur who is starting off wanting to grow, looking to scale, and they know they need business, to not feel like I need it now, and to have that, hungry, stale breath on them. And so that's difficult because you feel like you need to network, and then work means action and doing and, swinging the hammer or whatever that might be in your business. But in reality, you don't walk up to someone and say, "Hi, I'm Tom. Here's my business. Give me your credit card." So there is that. It just never happens. There needs to be that development of, introduction and relationship and here, what do you need? And tell me about your business. And, oh, wow, that's interesting. And, ooh, do you ever have any trouble with, or, what's the biggest struggle you have? And then, hey, have you ever thought about, and hey, let's grab a coffee. Those kinds of things lead to maybe, would it make some sense if we, jumped on a phone and chatted about some ideas I have for you that might benefit you possibly. And then there's some low pressure. Well, the point is, if you try to do too much too fast, it just pushes people away. So what are your thoughts and what is your experience on how you were able to scale up? Because I think you got to the point or are at the point where you've moved from solopreneur to a nice-sized team.
Yeah, and for me, and I guess it wasn't a conscious decision. I think it just happened where, I took some online courses where there were group calls. And so, we all the registrants and what have you kind of got to know each other and reached out to each other offline. So even joining online programs like that can help you network. Same with going to live events. That was huge for me. I felt really uncomfortable doing it. And, you sort of feel like you're on all the time. But if you just kind of like drop your shoulders and do it anyways, you just meet so many great people, even, to have on your podcast show or just to connect on social media. I've got people from all over the world that we direct message, Facebook, just chit-chatting back and forth on stuff. And, they may not be a client right off the bat, but they may know someone and they've referred people to me. So even just getting to know people and branching out, it just naturally increases your exposure to other circles and other people. And that alone will filter kind of business your way. Even LinkedIn, I've just chatted with people I don't even know on LinkedIn, and I'm like, hey, can I share your blog? I love it. And then it ended up being, they're on my podcast show or we're connecting in other ways, and then they've referred someone to me or I've done some work for them. Again, that wasn't my purpose going in. It just naturally happened.
Yeah. You mentioned live events, and I think that sometimes people get to the point where they feel like it's overwhelming and I don't want to go to them, even though the content might be wonderful, or they go to so many of them and they just hang out with their same little crew. Well, you may as well be at a Starbucks. So what are some thoughts around if you're an entrepreneur wanting to go to one of your industry events, mainly to learn and glean knowledge, but also it wouldn't hurt to meet some networking associates for down the road and follow up, and who knows where that could lead. What are some thoughts around making sure that you meet some good people without, feeling like you met one person and 10 seconds later you're looking for another person and you're just trying to collect business cards?
I think it's really important, and I've got a business coach, and he kind of, I went to the, social media marketing world, which is huge, right? And I've always wanted to go, and I finally went. It was a big investment, but I knew there would be so much content and so many cool people. And he had some really clear goals for me, which I never really honestly thought of beforehand, but it was very useful. So I think this will be helpful for other people. And it was to have some really clear goals. It's like, if you want to meet the speakers or if you want to make an impact, you have to put your hand up, say who you are, and ask questions like during the panel talks or whatever they are to get noticed. Don't be afraid to go up to people and say, you love their book and you get a picture taken with them. So I felt like to my stomach to do it because it's not naturally my personality to do that, but I'm doing it anyways because that was my goal. And I had met some great people. I had pictures with, Gary Vee and Chris Drucker and a whole bunch of really cool people. But I also met people at that talk, if you will, sort of because of it. And just sitting beside people that aren't in your group already, right? Sitting with someone new, because you naturally just start chit-chatting with the person in front of you or beside you. It's just, everyone wants to be liked and everyone wants to chit-chat, right? So those are two things. And then they have specific networking, like little events usually within the big event, excuse me. And I forced myself to go to a couple of those, and I did, and I made some great connections that way. Again, if it was me, my fear would be like, oh, I feel uncomfortable, I'm not going to do it. It's safer, right, to hang out with your friends and people that you know. But I had a specific goal of what I wanted to do at the event, and I accomplished it.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, is to have something that you are doing that you can kind of like focus on. Like, I need to meet two experts. I've often heard this or thought this. How do you think this would work for the next live event? Kind of like how they teach you to talk to other people and learn about their business, and that becomes easier because they love to talk, and you can nod your head and smile and make a comment and walk away, and they think you're really a great conversationalist, and all you did was listen. Well, remember the little kids game, like the matching game, and you turn over two cards and pictures and try to then, here's a match, I didn't get a match. Well, what if your goal is to connect up three people at, this morning's session, right? Or during the networking session, and you talk to, a couple, 3, 4 people, and hey, tell me about your business. Oh, that's really cool. And hey, we'll see you around. And then you ask the same question to the next person, and you're watching for ways that you could connect someone up and go, oh, you know what? I just got this business card from this person. I'm gonna introduce you. Next time we see each other, or I'm gonna shoot you an email next week and introduce you guys because I think you would have some good, conversation. Well, you then become the connector, and then that gives you an excuse and a reason to follow up with them as well.
Yeah, I've never done that, but that is a great idea, and I think part of that is that you're serving other people, you're helping them, and that it feels good to help, right? But you're also you'll be remembered that way.
Yeah.
And it gives you a reason to connect with them after the fact.
Yeah, exactly. Then it's kind of like the old, I always hate sales closes and objections and, the puppy dog close or whatever, but one that sticks into my mind is the Columbo close. And it's kind of like, if you remember that show, he would be the frumpy old detective and questioning a suspect. And, then when he turns to leave, he's like, okay, well, hey, have a good day. And he reaches up to the door, and it's kind of like you see the suspect kind of, oh, good, he didn't ask me the really important questions. And then he turns around and goes, oh, one more thing, and then he gets the zinger. Well, it's kind of like when you're doing these connection pieces, then following the week or whatnot, you're, introducing, and then you're kind of like, oh, hey, by the way, we ought to connect up and chat about, oh, yeah, of course, because there's that principle of reciprocity. You connected them up front, gave and served, and then, sure, they'll take your call, and then who knows where that call can lead. And so I think that's super important, is to focus on that, making some connections, introductions, serving and giving. And then at that point, you don't feel like you're going, and today only we're running a coupon on our widget, buy it, and then they look at you and you walk away like, what was that?
I know.
Hey, so
Yeah,
how
I
do
agree.
you recommend entrepreneurs looking to go to the next level, scaling up and hiring people? Because at some point, that entrepreneur's highest and best use of their time is not doing the minutia of the day, posting this and updating that. So what are some thoughts that way to help scale up?
Sorry, I'm misunderstanding the question.
An executive that looks at their hourly rate and says, I made X last year, and my hourly rate is, a nice amount, $80 an hour, $100 an hour. If you were to, calculate it down, well, maybe I shouldn't be the one updating our Twitter account. Maybe I shouldn't be the one, posting a WordPress blog, because it's, even though it takes 4, 5, 6 minutes, and I could do it, maybe I should have someone, a virtual staff or an outsourcer who can do that, which frees me up to then go do the more important things to grow my business.
Absolutely. And it's hard, right? I mean, when you're a solopreneur, you're used to having control over everything. And I think a lot of the times your hours equals dollars sometimes. And I think the only way that you're going to scale and grow your business is to, create passive income so that your hours don't always equal dollars, that you have people working under you in your team so that they can do some of the work so that you can bring more work into your business. And also, just thinking about what you want for your lifestyle. Do you want to be doing those little tasks every day? I'm sure it's not enjoyable to them. What is it that's your passion? What is it that you love about your business? Maybe you want more free time on Fridays, or, again, not just thinking about your business, but your whole lifestyle and how you want to spend your time. And knowing too what tasks you do within a day or a week that have more value. So, for instance, relationship building, or, running a webinar to connect with more people, that to me is more revenue-generating task, so has higher value than, say, posting a blog on your WordPress. Yeah.
And then that helps you then to be super focused on things like that, to kind of always be evaluating, should I really be doing this?
Yeah.
And if you could magically do this, which so many people don't, and it surprises me when I recommend it and people come back and go, oh yeah, I did. If you could write down every 30 minutes of your workday what you did the previous 30 minutes, and then look at it after 2 weeks, and then analyze and go, what are some things that someone else could have been doing to save me time and actually probably do it better, so that I could make some more connections, or whatever the case is. I'll bet you could find a good 5-hour block of time, 5 hours combined of time per week, or more. And all of a sudden now you're like, okay, I did this, and now it's off to my, assistant or my, outsourcer, and they're doing this, and I'm now going to jump on this big project because now that's moving my business forward. So I think that's a interesting and powerful mindset shift as well.
For sure. And it's like, just think about, what your goals are for, the next 3 months, 6 months, year. And it's like, if you were by yourself, would you be able to accomplish it? It's like, one of my clients published 3 books in a year and does a webinar every month, does Facebook Live that gets leveraged into a video and a podcast show, and he runs his podcast show, and he's got a whole other separate business. It's like, if he was by himself, it would be humanly impossible to do all that stuff. But because he's got, smooth sailing, and he's got a whole team behind us, he can accomplish so much more, and that generates more leads, that generates more people going to the webinars, that generates more people going to his live events, and so on. So you can meet your goals so much faster.
So let's now go a little bit deeper on that. If you are an entrepreneur thinking, I wonder how much time I could save, or how could I take my business to the next level, what are some of the services that your firm offers that could help accomplish that for a company and then kind of free up their time?
Yes, thanks for asking. A lot of the content marketing, so all that stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So, your blogs and scheduling them on your website and promoting them through social media and email marketing. Your videos and getting that up on your website and edited, and social media posts to promote it. creating a lead magnet and all the things that go on to set that up, and autoresponders and sales funnel sequences after the fact, or Facebook ads, or at a podcast show, whether you're a host or a guest, all those moving pieces to make that happen and to get it out there so people consume all that great content and see how, wonderful you are. That to me is the easiest thing to have a team work on it for you.
Yeah, and all of those things are things that probably a business owner or an entrepreneur could physically, literally do or learn to do quickly, but should they do it?
Yeah.
And I think that, if you look at some of these studies about multitasking, people think that if you're doing one thing while you're doing another and quickly pop into another, that they're getting a lot done, but there is proof that when you divert your attention, even just for a few minutes to do something else, you kind of lose that momentum and lose that train of thought, and then getting back to that original task takes you a few more minutes, and that's why, doing this one task for 20, 25 minutes at a time and getting it done and then moving to the next one becomes so much more effective. So while you could do the things, have someone else that's at a lower dollar hour investment than you are, have them do it, and then you take your 2 minutes to proof it, because then, you feel like you're in control and you've checked it and made sure, and then boom, you're off doing, the bigger, higher value tasks like networking or coordinating with a strategic alliance.
Absolutely. And what you intimated there is it's what I call batch tasking. So, and I do that most days. Every now and then I do get caught up into email hell, as we all do sometimes. But it's like, for instance, with, a couple of my clients, they have one day a month where they record their solo podcasts. And then the next day they record 4 videos. And then we take the rest and transcribe it and push it out there. So they only have a very small portion where it's scheduled. Okay, once a month I know I need to do this. I need to write my blog, or I need to do my videos. And they do it in one chunk so they can stay really focused and do a really good job, and just get it done. And then they've got the rest of the month and they don't have to worry about the rest of it.
Yeah, I interview a lot of podcasters, and when we're talking before or after the show, they'll say they do the same thing. They sit down on, like one Friday a month and pound out 15, 20, interviews. And he's like, this one podcaster is like, I'm on interview 10 of the day, and this is just brutal. But then the whole month is done, because then they get it off to their, producer assistant person to do all the, operational work. But the interview, the content of it is done,
exactly.
Because, now if you're only doing one a week, then do your one a week. But, if you're doing, if you've got enough where you're booking 15, 20 a month, why don't you do it in 2 days? Do 7 in one day, So I think that's a huge point. So what's the best way that people can learn more about your business, your smooth sailing services, and how they may be able to learn about becoming more productive?
Sure, that's perfect. Actually, when you say productive, I do have a great report that's 8 ways to be more productive, so you can get more done consistently and in less time to achieve success faster. So people can get a free copy of that at ssonlinesupport.com/beproductive. And then, of course, just finding out about what smooth sailing does and how we can rescue you from the craziness of entrepreneurial life at ssonlinesupport.com.
Excellent. Well, Lyndsay, thank you for your time today. It was wonderful getting to know you.
Oh, thank you.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.